So we'll see if anyone appears in the chat. Hello there, it's me, James, on Damn Good Coffee Time with John here on Easter Monday.
Wow, yeah, that's right. I didn't think of that. It is Easter Monday.
In the name of saving money as well, I downgraded to the free plan on StreamYard. So that's why it says powered by StreamYard in the corner now. So I hope you
You know,
enjoy that. That's
it's funny, James. I think I actually subscribed to it and I completely forgot. I have to check.
it's,
How would
a,
I check?
it's an easy way of wasting money.
Yeah,
But just
basically.
log into StreamYard, and it's the same thing with subscribing to TV uh, apps and different channels and stuff. For movies,
It was so
they
long ago, though.
they just bet
I
on
have.
people forgetting about them, and then
This is, I think, the first
like paying for
um
Netflix and channels like Disney as well. In my opinion, it's really just
voice.
crazy. There's just isn't the sufficient stuff on there for you to pay up to like
I think this is
$20 or
my.
whatever.
I think this is my first podcast since last year. I've been in the hospital since January 15th. And I got out
Mm.
for like 2 weeks. And then I went back in and I got out about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we've just spoken on video since then, or on the calls.
Yeah.
We've not done a video or something.
No,
Pretty
we
sure.
haven't. We haven't really spoken in a long time. How you been?
All right. I mean, just in
Well,
myself and
despite,
everything, I've been okay. It's
uh,
the
despite like the
whole
whole David Lynch
the
thing,
whole
I understand.
raison d'etre of the channel to some extent was Lynch inspired. So
Well, that doesn't mean
it's
it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be anymore. You know.
I know that. Just it's just that it really. I think Lynch passing away and everything just had this effect on me of like the initial sort of craziness of seeing all the messages online and people suddenly subscribing to a group that you're admin on and that I created, but then all of a sudden
Yeah.
that just goes away and it's just a flurry of sort of a strange form of excitement, and then really it just feels a bit desolate after that, really, because there was always this for me. I was always optimistic, thinking, oh, Lynch is okay. He says he wants to direct remotely or things like this. So, that could happen. He's not even in his 80s yet, but, you know, and then, but the reality of him was he did have emphysema. And it just, I think for me, one of the biggest aspects of it was, like realizing your idols or
Yeah.
inspirational figures are human and therefore just as fallible as anyone. And like, his smoking clearly, as he described it, bit him. And, it just seems, there's an aspect of it where you feel like upset for the fact that it was like avoidable. He could have lived
Yeah.
longer and carried on as a creative. But the thing is, he was not young. So,
I know someone who's in their 70s, and I'm not going to say who they are, but they know who they are, and they're on the onset of emphysema, and they continue to smoke. And I keep asking them, why do you keep smoking if you have emphysema? I don't understand that. And they just brushed me off, like
yeah,
after I had my heart attack, because I was a heavy smoker, I immediately quit. I
yeah,
quit 4 days, and it's like haven't picked up a cigarette in 15 years. And I was a heavy smoker. I was smoking 2 packs a day. Like, I don't know how people can continue to do that after they find out such horrible information about their health. And I'm not saying, David Lynch is a bad person for doing that. It was his choice, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't
considering he said he started smoking when he was 8, I mean,
That's crazy.
how much of a joke that is. It's like
It's not a joke. People do start that
he
young.
doesn't mean he was addicted to it from 8, but he experimented from the age of 8. It means, and so, and maybe it was more than just experimentation, because these things were so much more readily available back then, weren't they? Cigarettes were like almost like something that just pops up, amidst the friends you've got. And he did during his teen years as well have a period of hanging around with the kind of the naughty, the sort of rebels without a cause types and stuff. And
useless.
This is going back to the time of like cigarettes were seen as always were promoted as good for you. So
I know. Did you ever see those poster ads on the internet from like the 50s? Doctors prefer Chesterfield. Those are like my favorite ads. It's just
I mean, if you imagine Lynch going to school and stuff, just the same as it was for us, there's always the people in your class or people in another class who bring in cigarettes, and the smoking behind the bike sheds type of stuff, as they say here, and he went to art school and all that kind of thing. So he's always been around that, was the idea of living the art life as well. And but back then, I think, like if you compare school life now, if children were smoking in school and bringing in cigarettes, they'd get into trouble, wouldn't they? They'd be like having to go and see some teacher and told not to do it, and there'd be more likelihood of them being caught vaping in school.
When I was in high school, juniors and seniors were allowed to smoke on a smoking ramp, which is like such a weird way of thinking now. Because I went to such a strict high school, it was surprising that they actually allowed that. And then I remember in the 90s, a really popular type of cigarette, but a clove cigarettes, where they smelled really nice and they tasted really good, but they were even higher in, whatever that word is, nicotine and other stuff that messes up your lungs. So that meant,
I was just watching. I don't really think I've ever properly watched it. I've watched some of it before, but we're going back a long time, of the Michael Mann film, The Insider, and it is, it's centered on the whole thing of cigarettes being a nicotine delivery system, which was never admitted until a long time by the actual companies. But they put ammonia in them, as it's explained within the film. From the science guy who's played by Russell Crowe, and they use ammonia to sort of increase the uptake of nicotine through some kind of the blood-brain barrier or whatever it's called. This kind of it just increases the intake of nicotine, and then its addictive property of it's a bit like caffeine or something, isn't it? But it's a far more intoxicating effect, I think. The
very intoxicating. I do remember when
for people who never smoke or don't smoke, like if I was to have a cigarette now, it would be like I'd be like, oh, I feel like dizzy now, even though I'm
I don't even like the smell anymore.
A pretty big guy and everything, but it doesn't make any difference how big you are or anything. It's like
no, it doesn't. Doesn't matter anything. You could be the smallest guy in the world. It doesn't matter.
But also, it's
like the skinniest guy in the world.
Yeah, the Russell Crowe guy in it. He mentions how also they add something into the cigarette which creates the smell of them. Oh, sorry, the taste. And it's like, so the taste of them is not actually coming from the tobacco so much as from something that's added. A chemical.
And it still tastes like shit.
But if you smell a cigarette, it doesn't really smell like a nice tobacco-y smell, does it?
I used to like the smell, but I hate it now.
Maybe some cigarettes do, but Anyway, I'm not an expert on them, and I'm not trying to promote cigarettes, so it's not something that I want to.
No, you're not. Like you're talking down about them.
No,
I mean,
I'm
it's
more
weird.
just in relation to someone like Lynch and everything. I think there's this aspect of, it's this idea of like never meet your idols, and because you're bound to be disappointed on some level, and it's like we held him up to such a high standard of being like this great director and everything.
Well, that doesn't mean he's still not a great director. I mean, he
No,
just
I
had
don't
a
think.
horrible
No,
ending.
I'm just saying it's there's a sadness to the whole thing, but it's
Yeah.
inevitable, and the situation in which he was caught up in as well was just, it's like something from his films, like the Hollywood fires, and then he had to
Right.
get moved from his place because of those. So he had to move to Jennifer's house, his daughter, and then in the moving and everything, this probably would have, I imagine, exacerbated his condition because he was using oxygen as well, and I think he was just ailing generally. So
As
the
his
story,
daughter made. Sorry, I didn't say. I didn't.
the story is they found him like sitting, meditating and things like this, and it's like, but I'm not sure if they said outside or not, but it's just like, it almost just seems too, his film like Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, and then fire was so prominent, like look at the start of Wild at Heart, and then he's caught up amidst these fires and everything. And Jennifer Lynch has done an interview where she says, I'm glad how all of our focus and many people's focus was taken off January the 20th, as in the inauguration. Lynch's birthday was actually the 20th when he would have been 79, but he died on the 17th. So,
oh wow.
And she says, it was great how that kind of focused everybody away from the Trump inauguration. But at the same time, the way in which the news and everything operates, especially online, is it goes through all these different channels of like conspiracy type theories where people are saying, the LA fires were caused by lasers being directed on the place, and
Oh, stop.
which of course,
Yeah, idiots.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just weird because there's suddenly that on the BBC News as the leading story here, like LA fires, and then a week or two later, it's just completely disappeared. You don't hear anything about it, and it looks like bloody an absolute scenes of devastation. So either it was exaggerated how bad it was, or it's just that the way the news cycle works. I got up this morning and looked at the news, and it was literally within an hour of the news breaking. It was just being covered on breakfast news here about the Pope and everything passing away. So,
Wow.
well, that's not news.
Yeah,
for me,
I forgot about I forgot. I know, like 10 minutes ago, I was reading about
But
it.
it's not like anything.
It's a weird.
It's just
Like
the
the
one
Marjorie.
guy.
I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying really bad things about the Pope and stuff. And
Well, after his death.
yeah, after his death, because she's a real Christian woman. Piece of shit, she is. I don't know.
He was 88, but I mean, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene is just sort of a crazy person.
She's nuts.
She just says stuff merely to get people's hackles up. That seems to be the only point.
That's her purpose, basically.
Yeah. That's her job description.
Yeah, asshole. I have a.
Well, you're going to say something, or John? Obviously, I think your mic or something, has the headphones stopped working. Thanks for this comment, Voltaire. I really appreciate this, but it's just good to see you in the chat. Tobacco smells lovely. This is slanderous. You've sold out to the anti-tobacco lobby. Well, that was my point originally. I thought I was going to say that tobacco itself smells quite nice, but with cigarettes, you don't really get so much of a smell of tobacco, I don't think. Compared to if you bought, like a pouch of tobacco, I mean. So, hello there to Phantom Cooper as well. Grifters hated the woke Pope. He was pretty chill for a Catholic. Howdy, all. Yeah, howdy to you as well, Phantom Cooper. I mean, obviously, I've just.
Sorry about that, James.
You've now appeared as two different people in the channel, but it's okay. You come back. Was there a problem with your power or something?
I have no idea.
Well, do you not know why it happened, or?
No, I don't.
Okay, just wondered because I do. If I can prevent it happening again, then I would. But because otherwise, I'll just be left here, like, kind of going, "What's happening?"
Let me kill the audio on a second name.
I'm feeling pretty laid back about doing this video and everything, and I think I didn't really enjoy a lot of the stuff surrounding the online sort of worship of Lynch and the, just sort of like putting up his dates of birth and date of death and, praise be to the Church of Lynch and everything. I found all that pretty just somewhat nauseating, I suppose. I don't really like that kind of thing online, but I'm not saying people should actually put up posts on Facebook, damning Lynch to hell for smoking or something. That would be probably not well received, but it might be a bit more interesting than the kind of posts. I just think, like, when someone's died of emphysema and a heart attack brought on by the whole emphysema, then surely taking cartons of cigarettes and putting them outside Bob's Big Boy as a tribute is not ideal. And I've just lost John again there, so
I'm here.
Oh, you are here now. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
You can probably imagine what I just said. Did you hear that, or what I was talking about?
I did. You had a really. I'm trying to get back in the room. I don't know. Can you still see me?
You are in the room, John. So.
Yeah, but my screen's not. This is so frustrating. I'm sorry. Just bear with me. It's not your fault, James. It's mine.
It's just annoying because I've done videos in the past where everything just degenerates into technical issues and it prevents any normal flow of conversation. So,
as long as you can hear me, I'm just going to keep talking because I can't see you anymore. I don't know what happened to my screen. But as you were saying, yes. However, doesn't the Bob's Big Boy have something to do with Twin Peaks?
No, it's just a place that Lynch went for a long period of time, like 8 years in a row or something. He went there. So,
because have you ever been to Bob's Big Boy? It's a shithole. It's like
no. Why would there are none in this country? So,
I don't know if maybe there are. It's just a shithole. It's a burger joint.
Yeah, but he went there in like the 80s, or.
It started sometime. I don't remember when it started, but they had a whole bunch of them.
He liked this chocolate milkshake that they did, but it was very thick. But then one time he said he climbed in one of the bins out back and then saw all the different ingredients that went into it, and he suddenly just stopped going there. So,
that's pretty gross.
It was all chemicals and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was really popular for a while. and then they just kind of shut them. There might be like one or two still
I think
around.
there's one left in LA or something. That's the one.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, if he died of emphysema and a heart attack combined, then to leave packets of cigarettes as a tribute for Lynch is just, to me, is awful and terrible. You know, these people should be probably been arrested, to be honest.
what
Also,
exactly does emphysema do to your lungs anyway?
well, in his descriptions of things, Lynch, as in his films as well, could be quite powerful in his use of language, but also just the simplicity that he spoke about it. He said that it felt like he had a plastic bag on his head, which is a rather
Wow,
sounds pretty extreme. You know, that sounds like basically
that's intense.
taking your last breaths. So, and it was, the thing is, we'd remarked on it going back several years now, where we would do these videos, and I was saying, you know, you could hear like that he seemed like he was a bit like short of breath, or his breath sounded a bit not good, and you know, couldn't quite put our finger on what was going off. But so that was just a depressing factor, I suppose.
How many kids does he have?
For all,
Wow,
all, each one is from a different woman. So
are they all in the arts or?
two, well, two of the boys, they're both. He's got two boys and two girls. To what Riley and Austin are both in Twin Peaks. So his sons, and they play characters who are like on the boundary between like reality and the fantasy element that Lynch sort of really was loved for. And I think, speaking of it in a more like, you know, philosophical sense, it's like the grounding of like the horrors and thing, you know, the LA fires, and then the sort of depressing fact of Lynch's death is, in some sense, you know, is it feels a bit like it's far more gritty, you know, like something from Abel Ferrara, if this was a film, rather than that kind of fantasy element that Lynch seemed to evoke in his films. You know, the facts of his death and everything just seemed for me a bit too harsh and sort of just sad, I suppose is the word, like I said before. And so I think I found that a bit difficult to handle in a sense, because
Yeah,
it
I
just
can understand that.
it just blew. I couldn't use my illusion. It blew my illusion,
Yeah,
and it was like blowing your illusion volume 3, not use your illusion volume 2.
that always annoyed me. I hate that they released two albums at one time. Should have just been one album.
Well, it's a very early 90s reference, and I mean, I never had any understanding of why anyone liked Guns N' Roses as a teenager. I remember someone having a Guns N' Roses tape in school and thinking, why are these girls into Guns N' Roses? Like, they had it in school as if it was like a badge of honor. And I remember being able to look at the cassette, you know, card inside and the design of it and everything, and thinking, what is this? You know, and like, you know, I think some of the girls were like, oh yeah, I love Axl Rose. I mean, this is in the UK, so you know, these kind of things were almost sort of unusual and otherworldly for us. But Guns N' Roses sort of went fully into the mainstream, especially when they had a song on like Terminator 2, didn't they? Right, John's connection is just going wrong all the time now, so I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna have to finish this video soon if it doesn't fix itself this time. I mean, as far as my whole perspective on everything concerning Lynch and Twin Peaks and that whole sort of world of wonder, really, Twin Peaks as itself and everything. When you think about the number of home releases that have been made of it and everything, the latest article by Scott Ryan in Vanity Fair is an interview with Jennifer, and she seems to be stationed at her dad's in the interview. I don't know. And she's talking about making a Lynch archive, which they apparently already nearly finished, and offers for it as well from whoever. I have no idea who, whether galleries or whatever, film archives. And when I think about Riley and Austin, for instance, and their appearances in Twin Peaks, like Austin appeared in the original Twin Peaks as the magician boy, not in Firewalk with Me, different cast member. And then Riley appears in The Return in two different roles. He appears as one of the gang of the car thieves, and then, well, also in the band Trouble. And then also he appears as the guy coming into the Get Diner and asking, has anyone seen Billy or something like this?
Can you hear me, James?
Yes, John, I could hear you.
Sorry, man. This is really frustrating. I have a new phone, and I don't know how to use it, so I'm learning.
Well, if you just come out again now, we'll just leave it, okay? Because it's not working if that's the case. So don't keep coming back in and out, please. It's yeah.
What?
If you go out of the room again without knowing why, because you've got a technical issue, don't just come back in again. We'll just leave me to talk on my own, and then I'll finish the video of my own accord. Because if you just keep coming in and out, it's not allowing for me to have a proper conversation with you, because it just is breaking up the entire video with you coming in and saying, sorry, I don't know what's happening,
Well, I think I know what it is, so don't worry about it.
Because I was hoping we'd just be able to do a relaxed video, and because I feel totally ready to do that, but then we've now got these technical issues. So.
Well, I think I know what it is, so it's not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal. I'm just talking about the reality of doing it. It's just, and I'm talking about things where you don't really know what I'm talking about specifically. But when I talk about this kind of thing that I was just mentioning about his sons being in it, and then Jennifer, of course, she wrote the original diary of Laura Palmer connected to Twin Peaks. And if she's actually living in Lynch's home now and everything, and in this interview in Vanity Fair, she's talking about how she feels separated from everything and not ready in a way to mourn. There's just a big connection inevitably between him and his children, and her especially, and Twin Peaks, and for me, the idea of it's always been about with this idea of continuing Twin Peaks as this constant thing, as a soap opera turned surreal detective show or whatever you want to call it. And how, for me, it's something that I could see going on almost like forever, not being unrealistic. And there's of course a bunch of people online. Just give me something at least to know I know you're here, John.
I'm here.
But you're just silent.
Because I'm listening to you talk. You said you didn't want me to interrupt you when you were talking.
I didn't. No, I just go hello, yeah, or something like that. So I know you've not gone. Just maybe none of this means anything to you. I don't know, but like for me, I think it's plausible that the story of Twin Peaks could continue in some way through, for instance, his children and things like this. It's if they took it on, and it without that being like something which has scandalized some fans who think, oh no, you can't take it out of the hands of Lynch, which frankly I think is bullshit, considering the original show was a joint effort between a whole bunch of people. It's
well, yeah, I know, but I could see people saying that their kids, his kids are sticking their hands in the cookie jar, and that kind of thing. People are just like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm saying there's nothing to make that in any way wrong, in my opinion. And it's not about them sticking their hands in their cookie jar. It's to do with delivering bringing, something new and creative to life, that which is honoring the work that their dad did, and is in no way, shape, or form trying to, be better than that or even be equal. It's
I
just a
know.
continuation of the whole thing. It's just like, I mean, you could compare it in. This sounds crazy, but like Wilson Phillips and comparing that to the Beach Boys. It's its own thing. It's a new project,
Well,
but it could
what?
be connected to Twin Peaks.
Well,
What's wrong with that?
besides boxing Helena, what else has
Hmm.
Jennifer Lynch done?
Um, well, the only film that I've watched of hers in that I fully know is Surveillance, with Bill Pullman in it and just Julia Ormond, which is a
How was
very,
that?
like, they're FBI agents in it, apparently, anyway, and that's the way the story is. And they deal with a crime and everything in this kind of small desert sort of town and stuff. And so it's got a very, you know, you can link it to Twin Peaks a bit in the kind of general setup.
And what about his
Uh,
sons?
well, they're both in Twin Peaks. Austin directed this whole thing and produced this interview project for his dad, where he went across the states interviewing people, like just random assortment of people, more people on the fringe of society, I think. But so it's not like his other children, his two sons have been like as prolific as Jennifer, she's now done loads of TV directing, merely like as a way of just making a living, not in the same mode as her father, who really was able to live the art life to a good
She
deal.
did an
But
episode of
Dharma,
Masters of Horror, didn't she?
she did quite a few episodes of Dharma, uh,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
the Netflix
the
drama. But
yeah, she did good with that.
she did. I mean, they were good. Like, but it's not like she came onto the show and then it's like in the same way that her father would come onto Twin Peaks and sort of like, oh, this is a real David Lynch episode here. You see,
Yeah. No, I know,
you
I
know,
know.
it's like she comes in and she does her own thing to a degree, but it's at the same time it just fits into the uh, not uniformity, but the style of the entire show, which is consistent throughout. So it's not like, I don't think many people would go, okay, Jennifer Lynch auteur or something like that. You see, and like I probably the only time I saw Boxing Helena was like on Blu-ray, not Blu-ray, VHS even, and it would have been obviously not in the best way to view it, best format, but I didn't. I was
Well,
never.
why not?
I was the opinion. Well, I'm just saying in terms of the quality, but I'm just saying I didn't think much of it. It seemed like very like this could have been directed by an 18-year-old from who just entered film school or like started a degree in filmmaking or something. It had like slow motion segments of Sherilyn Fenn dancing around in a waterfall with Enigma playing, things like that. So
They had an amazing
I think
Laserdisc box set.
if I watched it now, I'd
Uh,
probably feel a bit more amenable to it. But
yeah, I remember when it came out on Laserdisc, it had this massive box set. It was huge. It was really cool looking. But I tried to watch the movie twice. I just couldn't get into it. I feel bad.
it's tonally quite different to her work, like her dad's work, and it at times it almost feels like not a million miles away from like Two Moon Junction with Sherilyn Fenn, which was a like soft core porn film, like by Zalman King. You know, it seemed almost a bit too mainstream, apart from the fact that it's about a man who keeps a woman with her legs and arms missing. But yeah,
Oh, all
it
right.
it,
That's all.
it had more of a fine fantasy element to it, didn't it? And a sort of but Julian Sands was probably quite good in it. But I'm not familiar enough with the film. So, no.
I haven't seen it in its entirety, so.
Anyway, I mean, she did another film called Chained, where a guy keeps someone chained up, and it's a bit more gritty and similar to Surveillance. Surveillance, I'd highly recommend, by the way, John. So, yeah. It's actually a
Maybe
pretty
next time
good film,
streaming.
that one. Surveillance, you should be able to find it pretty easily. Directed by Jennifer Lynch. She directed like a horror film that was called Hiss. In she was linked up with some kind of filmmakers in India, even or something, and she went and filmed this film, but it just never worked out, and she got her name taken off it.
That's interesting.
I'll just answer Phantom Cooper before. I don't know if you can stay at all. Obviously, you're working, but I have played a few different PS5 games lately, and I bought Red Road Redemption 2, and I've been playing that quite a bit. For me, that means playing it in spurts of like 20 to 30 minutes, or just trotting around on the horse forever and then replaying bits or retrying bits where it's a shootout. I like it. It's actually a fantastically made game. I mean, it's a PS4 game actually, but the visuals and everything about the game and the playability is really, really good. I've read some people who say it's tedious, and then other people who say it's amazing. So well, the game I played Grand Theft Auto 5 for a while. I quickly got fed up of that because it's just violence, and I just didn't like it overall.
You got into video games?
Not really. It's just I've got a PS5 which I bought for my nephew, but then he's 10.
Mm-hmm.
My sister decided
does.
he shouldn't start just getting obsessed with PS5 games at his age because because a lot of them are more adult oriented anyway.
Yeah, good point.
I got into Assassin's Creed Unity as well. I was impressed by that, but the difficulty level of it is so hard to get into. Overall, very impressive game though. But it seemed the playability is the thing of these games that I find a bit annoying in that they want you to literally devote weeks of your lives to these games. And because they're so immersive, it's like being in a film playing them. I mean,
I know, that's why I can't get in.
Red Road Redemption is just, it's like the weather changes in it. So you can just literally just stand there on your horse enjoying the weather. And there's wild animals roaming around. It feels like a completely immersive world. And it's really impressive. It's like these trains going around and then it goes forwards in years. There's new train tracks appearing where there used to be horse tracks. You're basically, like an outlaw, And but it's very much, I would say it's like a 15 certificate game. It's not suitable really for children. There's prostitutes in it. It's quite violent. But I don't quite understand why these games, you could skip them all, of course, but they always have these scenes where it's just, you've got to watch this bit, and it's just like playing you through the game with these sort of movie segments in them. They're called like cutscenes or whatever, I suppose they call it. But I bought Call of Duty World War II, which is impressive again, but it's just a shooting game, so it's a little bit I don't really like the games if they're just centered around violence, to be honest, too much. But and they're all using the same kind of way form of making a game. You know, where you're in a first player just wandering around finding things to do, basically finding missions. And they allow for a certain amount of, you know, you can just wander off and wander all through different locations to amuse yourself, or you can go along with you know, playing the game properly. But they give you so much room to just sort of wander, and they don't make it clear what your next mission is. It's you can do different things, even you can go different directions and go different routes through the game, which you know is, I think, you know, just on a very basic level of understanding games and things, is quite different to how we um, played games in the 80s or 90s, you know, and they can almost seem a bit too immense, the games, I would say, you know. Um, so yeah, it's a bit difficult, obviously. Sorry about the disjointedness of this video with me just stopping and stuff when John went out, but he's doing it on his phone, so that's causing the issues, it seems. I mean, I enjoy having him on for sure, but so yeah, that's my viewpoint on the whole situation with Lynch and everything. It's like, especially where things were left, it all feels to me, and my perspective on it is that the world of Lynch is still there, you know, and continues in its own way, you know. I think there'll be stuff that Lynch was working on or worked on and that still is yet to be released. For instance, he did another album with Christabel. There may be other things, you know, he wrote 13 scripts and everything, but as always, I suppose I'm maybe a bit wildly optimistic about the whole thing, but that's the way I view it, you know. Through lots of different reasons, you know, that's how I view the whole situation. Um, I sort of view it as like Lynch's story wasn't really supposed to end there, you know, and so from that reasoning alone, however um, over dramatic that might sound, you know, I think it could continue or should even continue. That's how I view it. From an artistic standpoint, you know, I think there's a lot still there that someone like Jennifer could run with, really, and make her own thing, you know. I'm not talking about just like, okay, that's where season 3 of Twin Peaks: The Return ended. Let's do a continuation from there, because for then her to just jump into something which was very much his work with Mark Frost would seem, you know, a bit disconnected and untenable, really, or tenuous. You know, it's just sort of could seem too disjointed, you know. But I think the way the Twin Peaks story would have gone anyway could have been so unexpected that it could easily go into someone else's hands and they make it their own thing. You know, it doesn't even have to be literally connected to Twin Peaks that much. You know, who knows how it would be connected. I mean, The Return was only connected to Twin Peaks in a pretty disjointed manner. So, yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't think John's going to come back in now. So I will leave this video for now, just at 45 minutes. Thank you for everyone for watching, and hopefully I'll be back soon to do another video. All the best for now, and see you in the trees.